Clear thinking sounds simple, but most people do not train their minds. Sharp thinking comes from active control, not accidents. You begin to build clear thinking when you start noticing how your mind actually works. The brain does not stay neutral. It drifts into habits, shortcuts, and assumptions. If you do nothing, your thinking becomes automatic and unclear. If you pay attention, you can guide it. You watch your own thoughts. You see when your attention jumps. You see when you rush to conclusions. You see when you accept an idea just because it feels familiar. This awareness is the first layer of a thinking system. Clear thinking begins when you take control of how your mind works. Clear thinking needs space, and mental noise fills that space. Thoughts compete, distractions pull you away, and your mind tries to handle many things at once. You can see mental noise when you try to think about one idea and several more appear. Worries, memories, and random thoughts arrive without your choice. When this happens, your inner screen becomes crowded. No idea gets enough focus to become clear. To think well, you must reduce this noise. You choose one idea to work on and gently ignore the rest. You silence your phone, close extra tabs, and remove obvious distractions. Inside your mind, you tell yourself, right now, I am only thinking about this. With practice, fewer random thoughts appear. Your mind learns that attention has rules. It becomes easier to hold one idea long enough to understand it. Removing mental noise creates space for clear thinking. Sharp thinkers do not start with the full complexity of a problem. They simplify before they solve. Instead of thinking, this is too big, you ask, what is the basic form of this? You look for the simple core. You break the problem into steps that can be handled one at a time. You move from everything at once to one piece, then the next. This is decomposition in practice. When you break a problem into smaller parts, your brain can hold and work with each part clearly. Confusion often comes from trying to hold too many links in your mind at once. Simple units remove that stress. Big problems become clear when you see their structure. You do not need to be fast or clever. You need to be willing to simplify. Simplifying problems builds clarity and sharp reasoning. Plain language is one of the strongest tools for clear thinking. If you cannot explain an idea in simple words, you do not really understand it. You test your own thinking by trying to explain an idea in everyday language. You imagine you are talking to someone with no background in the subject. You avoid technical terms unless they are absolutely required, and if you use them, you define them simply. As you do this, you quickly see which parts of the idea are clear and which parts are vague. Any sentence you cannot put in plain language marks a weak point. Instead of hiding that weakness, you use it as a guide. You return to the idea, study it again, and refine your explanation. Simple speech is not just for others. It is how you check whether your own thinking is clean. Plain language builds clear and sharp understanding. Clear thinking is not just about having neat ideas. It is about having ideas that survive contact with reality. You build a sharp thinking system when you test your thoughts against facts. You do not trust an idea only because it feels right or sounds clever. You look for data, examples, and results. You ask, does this match what actually happens? If an idea fails when tested, you do not protect it. You refine it or replace it. This can feel uncomfortable, but it keeps your mind honest. The easiest person to fool is yourself, and testing protects you from that. When you live by this rule, your thinking changes. You stop holding on to ideas just because they are yours. You start holding on to ideas because they match reality. This makes your thinking stable and trustworthy. Testing ideas against facts strengthens clear thought. Assumptions are ideas you accept without noticing. They sit in the background and shape your thinking before you even start. You begin to uncover assumptions by asking what you are taking for granted. You might assume something always works, that people always act a certain way, or that an idea must be right because it is common. These are not facts. They are habits in your mind. When you find an assumption, you do not attack yourself for having it. You simply bring it into the open and test it. Some assumptions will remain useful, others will fall apart. In both cases, your thinking becomes more accurate. Doubting your starting points is not negative thinking. It is careful thinking. It helps you see the world as it is, not as your habits claim it should be. Removing assumptions strengthens clear reasoning. Loose thoughts do not form a system. They come and go without structure. Clear thinkers build mental models instead of collecting random ideas. A mental model is a simple structure in your mind that shows how something works. You build a model by connecting the key parts of an idea. You see causes and effects. You see what depends on what you notice, what stays the same, and what can change. The model may be simple, but it is organized. You can walk through it step by step. When you have a model, you do not have to remember every detail as a separate piece. Details hang on the structure. You can rebuild much of the idea just by recalling the model. You also use models to test new information. If something does not fit, you adjust either the model or the information. This keeps your thinking flexible and strong. Mental models support sharp and organized thinking. Sharp thinking needs focused attention. Working on one idea at a time gives that idea enough space to become clear. You can train your mind to do this. You pick one problem, one idea, or one question, and for a set time you work only on that. When other thoughts appear, you notice them, let them pass, and return to the main idea. You are not angry at yourself. You are simply firm about where your attention goes. This practice builds mental discipline. Over time, your mind learns that it does not need to chase every thought. It can stay with one. This depth of focus lets you see details and structure that scattered attention will never see. In a world full of constant input, single idea focus is rare, and that is why it is powerful. Single idea focus sharpens the mind. A clear thinking system must include self-checking. You cannot protect your own ideas from criticism and still expect honesty. You need to question your thoughts with care. You ask yourself where your idea might be wrong or weak. You look for missing steps, hidden assumptions, or ignored facts. You do not do this to attack yourself. You do it to strengthen your thinking. When you question your own ideas, you reduce the chance of being surprised later. You also train yourself to value truth more than ego. It becomes more important to be accurate than to be right. Honest self-checking may feel uncomfortable at first, but it leads to a kind of confidence you can trust, because you know your ideas have been tested from the inside. Honest self-checking builds sharp and reliable thinking. Clear thinking is not built in a single pass. It grows through repetition. You revisit important ideas many times. Each time, you try to explain them more simply. You remove extra words. You fix weak points. You check them against facts again. You are not just repeating phrases, you are refining structure. This process forms strong neural pathways in your brain. Ideas move from fragile to solid. They become easier to recall and easier to use in new situations. This kind of repetition is active, not automatic. It is not about drilling slogans. It is about sharpening understanding. You can apply this in any field. Each cycle of repetition adds clarity and depth to your thinking system. Repetition strengthens clear and sharp thinking. Uncertainty is part of real thinking. Clear thought does not mean having all the answers. It means seeing what is known, what is unknown, and what is still open. You maintain sharp thinking when you accept your limits. You say, "This part I know. This part I am still learning. This part no one fully understands yet." This honesty keeps your system stable. You do not fill gaps with false certainty just to feel safe. Accepting uncertainty does not mean you stop thinking. It means you think clearly about what is known and what is not. You stay open to new evidence. You are ready to update your models without feeling broken. Uncertainty becomes a space for curiosity, not panic. Accepting uncertainty supports clear and stable thinking. When you combine these elements, you are not just trying to think better. You are building a system for thought. You reduce mental noise. You simplify problems. You use plain language. You test ideas against facts. You remove assumptions. You build mental models. You practice single idea focus. You question your own thinking. You repeat and refine. You accept uncertainty. Each part supports the others. Noise reduction helps focus. Plain language reveals assumptions. Models helped testing. Repetition strengthens everything. Over time, your mind works in a new way. You do not just have thoughts, you have a method. Thinking will never be effortless, but it becomes reliable. You can face complex ideas calmly because you know how to approach them. Clear and sharp thinking is the result of structure, control, and honest reasoning.